So I appreciate everyone coming to our talk. We are huge Quadrant fans. We've been using Quadrant for, I think, 2 or 3 years at this point. A lot of this talk is about, our journey through Quadrant, which is fun. But at the same time, we're going to talk about how we're using deep research and the role that Quadrant plays in that deep research loop with respect to news. I am the C*O, which just means we're a tiny startup, and so I'm doing everything. But I have a team of 6 people with us, so I'm presenting on that today about our news sleuth. What is deep research? Well, you probably are all at least adjacently familiar with this. It's a while loop at the end of the day. There's nothing super special going on. It's, hey, query, get some results, reason on top of it, build a new query. It's kind of like that next level of improving relevance on top of the results. So Quadrant plays a role in this. Let's talk a little bit about what it actually is doing. There's a lot of document enrichment, search refinement, metadata tagging that goes into this loop. That's how you make this loop efficient and how you get answers very quickly back to users. Research planning. We would call this context engineering, but it's probably just iterative RAG at the end of the day, right? There are a bunch of these things out there. You've played with them, I guarantee it. Claude, OpenAI, Gina AI, DeepSeek, Perplexity. So they've solved all of our problems. It's awesome. But it feels kind of like this image. And I was actually trying to get this image generated, but OpenAI just stopped in the middle. And it felt a little like the deep research situation that we're sitting in already. It's just this spew of trash. Where did this information come from? I need another AI to just verify this information. That it feels like something was lost in that loop where they gave us this spew. How do you trust 100 pages from an intern? Because let's be honest, these LLMs are great, but they are interns. They have no real knowledge about what's going on. If that intern is just blindly scraping HTML off the web, doesn't care too much about the metadata tagging, doesn't really care where the information came from, do you trust that report? Probably not. So let's build this foundation first and then paint the house last, okay? So building the foundation is not sexy. That's the part that we solve. The bridge of getting publisher information to LLMs for LLM ingestion in an optimized way starts with, what do you need to know? What is the context that you're going to engineer about news? This is not a new concept. This is the who, what, why, where, when. The people, the organizations, the published date, the locations, motivations. This is how a deep research news sleuth would reason on and contextualize to answer your forecasts. What are you trying to forecast? Political, geopolitical movements, shifts, whatever. It's also, you just never get any of this with a raw web scrape. And it's unlicensed. That's a huge problem. This is context failing. This is not engineering. What if you had it all? What if you had a bit more? Connections, geocoordinates, source origin, that and a sustainable loop. You could build your business. That sounds a lot better to us. So that's where we introduce a grounded synthetic news data. We take the original article, we remove the narrative voice, remove the journalistic style and original phrasing, but we preserve context, the stuff that the LLM actually needs to reason, to make a forecast, to make a decision. That's a synthetic representation, and it protects publishers as well. This isn't really about the publisher connection here, but that's a really key component. It allows them to monetize their data while protecting it at the same time. So, in meme form, this is essentially it. It's raw HTML is token intense, it's poorly labeled, it's seeds for hallucination, ellipses everywhere. What do you think an ellipses does to an LLM? It's not fun. It's biased, legally uncertain. What is synthetic data? It's trusted, token optimized, extra context, LLM ready. You get the point. So, we actually presented on this 2 years ago with Demetrios. I don't know if Demetrios is here today, but he's great. He did vector space on YouTube. So this was we really went in depth on the engineering there. So go check that video out. We talked a lot about even the Kubernetes environment and the role that Quadrant plays inside of it. It's a good one, highly recommended. But let's get to the fun stuff, the quadrant. So this is a little bit of a quadrant journey because we've been around for a few years and somehow we've just evolved with quadrant, and I think that's a key takeaway from this talk is we're a startup. We don't have $1 billion like these huge companies in Silicon Valley. So kind of evolving with quadrant and having full access to all features has been probably one of the core reasons why we've been able to succeed and serve clients. Start with the sparse vectors. That's interesting. Quantized, that's even more interesting, especially that it works. That's v1.1. Let's add some more vectors. How many other databases can you add 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 vectors to of different types and do hybrid search on it? That's fun too. Oh, what if we add a date-time index? Then we can start controlling on time, which is a core piece of context engineering with a news sleuth. Even more interesting. How about phrase matching and keyword indexing and toss it on disk because we're poor and we don't have a lot of RAM because we're a startup? That's really cool. I like this. Obviously, boom, you got tons of metadata that you can index on. And now you can really do context engineering and you can really do a deep research loop that gets you a decision that you can trust. What if we process and upsert 500K of these documents per day? That sounds like a lot of work for a database. And we're getting queried thousands of times a day. That sounds, or per minute. We need a distributed deployment. That's v1.7.4. Thank you, Quadrant team, for all of this free stuff. So let's take the journey through a little AskNews loop with Quadrant. Let's start with the query. I think this one is, asking about if they're going to secure TikTok's algorithm under US management. I want to know more about that. What measures are they going to take? Well, we do the query, so let's formulate the search. Let's query 200 million documents, and let's get to the bottom of it. Let's do that time filter search. That sounds great. Keywords, sparse and dense embeddings for hybrid search, and maybe other constraints, maybe controlling for reporting voice, sentiment, bias, you name it. Let's get those high relevance documents out. We're talking 0.0001% of the database we need to get out fast in less than a second. That's pretty awesome. That's Quadrant. Let's read. We have these highly enriched data structures, and we can read them, and we can understand them, and we can reason on top of the information that we just got. So we're in that loop. And then we can respond if we're done with the loop, or we can just while loop as long as we want. Check out the share link. You can go, this is a fully interactive dashboard. You can even toss your own questions in and enjoy. This is a really powerful interaction with news information, and I don't think it was possible 14 months ago, 15 months ago. I think we've evolved quickly with Quadrant. Quadrant has evolved, and now we're able to produce something, to be completely frank, is pretty magical, and a lot of our analysts are using this for tracking geopolitical shifts around different areas of the world, tracking, Ukraine, tracking the Israel-Gaza conflict, tracking shifts in politics in North America and South America, and understanding financial trends and tech evolutions. And this is really cool, and you can only do that with really good filtering, really good high relevance retrieval. And so that's the role that AskNews and Quadrant play together. So is news actually enough? No, it's really not. We are really excited. We managed to open source this in time for this presentation. This we've been working on for a couple of months was well, first we just wanted to go get this, but it didn't exist. A natural language index into Quadrant, or into Wikipedia. There is an Elasticsearch solution, but as you all know, that's not solving the problem as well as a good semantic search interaction, especially when you have an agent speaking natural language. It's not as good. So we chunked up Wikipedia. We built the data structure. We're really happy with the data structure. It allows for really strong context engineering. For example, we've chunked up 8 million articles into 40 million chunks, but we structure it in quadrants so that you can get to neighboring chunks, because it would make sense if, hey, I'm looking for the most relevant chunk, but the context associated with that chunk probably has important information in the neighboring chunks, and that is a direct link, right? So that kind of structuring is what we've done already for you and done all of the indexing, and it's just a snapshot. So you can just go download this and then boom, create your quadrant database and start tossing natural language queries at Wikipedia, which is really important for reconciling information, conflicting information in the news for a news sleuth. And it runs on a laptop, which is wild. I didn't talk too much about some of the deep components of creating the metadata, extracting the metadata, but extracting entities, really important, especially doing it in a balanced and diversified way. That's another Hugging Face model that we've made available. And last year, it was one of the most downloaded models. We're really, really excited about that. Bias, understanding bias. Is DeepSeek biased? I'd love to get a show of hands in the audience for who here believes that DeepSeek has an inherent bias to the Chinese party. So like 80% of the audience, which is an interesting narrative that's been propagated. I am not a huge fan of, I'm not taking any sides, but we've done work to understand if there is a hidden bias in DeepSeek. The raw weights, not the chat portal that you play with through the Chinese server, the raw weights. It is Western bias, guys. So let's just be aware of what's really going on. The data scientist who did this report is in the audience here somewhere. Her name's Ellen. Go talk to her about it. But it's really interesting. It talks about Tiananmen Square in a very objective Western way. So it's important to understand this stuff. Connecting relationships, that's key to the puzzle. Connecting relationships across 200 million documents is not easy. Quadrant makes this possible. It's really incredible. Trump is mentioned in maybe 100 documents here, and we need to understand what are his relationships to all of the abutting entities. That's the sort of context engineering that gets us to a really strong news sleuth. So does it work? Yes, the answer is yes. So we have external validations with Metaculus, which is a forecasting platform for humans and bots. And we've been watching this for 12 months now. It's a quarterly tournament. And every quarter, it's the same story. AskNews and Quadrant infused bots are winning real-world money predicting real-time information. Perplexity-infused bots are not. Exa are losing, and I don't even know what's going on with Gemini at the bottom. It's because those are raw web scrapes dumping ellipses as hallucination seeds into your context window, and you're paying more money to do that. That's crazy. So this is an external validation. These are bots that we don't control. We're really proud of it. Check it out. These are all the bots that decided to use AskNews in the most recent one. The first tournament, it was only a few, and then word caught on quickly. I have a little extra time, and I'm excited about that because I thought I might not be able to get through this slide. The publisher-developer relationship here is really important for us at AskNews, and that is what we're pushing as our primary product. So we are selling to publishers the ability to monetize their information with developers, and we're selling to developers the ability to get to information without worrying about licensing and contracts and even understanding retrieval and relevancy. They just type in Trump tariffs, and they get 40 sources about Trump tariffs from the last 24 hours. The publisher does not want to lose control over the original expression. There's, the New York Times has a lawsuit against OpenAI about this. Original expression is very valuable for training LLMs. We protect against that because we talked about the synthetic data in the beginning. we're extracting, stripping out that original voice. The AI developer is actually quite happy about this because they just need the context of what's going on. They don't want to parse the full HTML and the full 10 pages. They want the key pieces of information, entities, organizations, geocoordinates, etc. The publisher does not have the time or energy to manage 100,000 licenses with developers, and the developer does not have time to maintain HTML scrapers that are brittle. We have a lot of publishers. We've signed over 1,000. If you know publishers, you have connections to publishers, send them our way. They're monetizing their data, so we pay publishers. We just got AP, Associated Press as well. I don't think they're in this slide. But Agence France Presse, some really big ones. Benzinga, check out our website. We are in direct service to the publishers. So our goal here is to keep a sustainable system of data so that the AI developers can build a product that will be working in 2 years and doesn't have legal restrictions and isn't a brittle scraper, and the publishers can keep sending journalists to places like Gaza to do reporting. I think that's an important distinction here. The final slide is the brag slide about our current client list. We're really proud of it. A lot of universities. UTexas is doing a lot of misinformation detection with the system, but also stuff like scientific discovery and obviously finance, but human interaction with persona. The team, this isn't everyone. I think I missed a couple, but Ellen is around. You might see her. And Wagner and Tim are our core components here. So that's it. I'm really happy that you guys were able to come to the chat. Find me, find Ellen, and let's geek out about why news structuring is important and how Quadrant plays a role. Thanks a lot.